Well, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Today is the day. What is today? Is the day that we are bringing to a close a small series. In this small series that I've been pushing, actually stretching it, is why with purpose pursuit everyone is an inventor. And I've given you a bit of information as far as that is concerned. If you go back in the past 4 episodes or so, you will see that I have discussed quite a number of points that lead to the idea that if everyone was pursuing their purpose, everyone potentially becomes an inventor. And we've also said that this invention is not something that happens intentionally. It's something that happens arbitrarily. It's something that happens as a byproduct, a side effect of you being immersed in your purpose pursuit. So if you're not immersed in your purpose pursuit, you cannot invent. That's my theory. There was nobody who invented anything that was not in their purpose pursuit. Well, stay tuned as we close.
Welcome to the Life Signatures podcast with Lawrence Namale. Lawrence is a life coach, author, and keynote speaker who loves to tackle different topics on purpose, productivity, and resilience. His mission in life is to awaken all your boundless possibilities available in you. Life Signatures podcast is dedicated to bring to reality every single person who knows that deep down in their gut, there's got to be more to life than this. And now, here is your host, Lawrence Namale.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're coming close to 1,500 episodes. In the next 9 or so days, we will have hit that mark. And that tells you something, that we've been at this for quite a while now, for years on end. And I think I am one of the most grateful people for the gift of life, for the gift of health, for the gift of wisdom, for the gift of passion, for the gift of purpose, for the gift of consistency, for the gift of momentum that God has bestowed unto my life. And I know all through these 1,500 episodes, 1 or 2 people have been helped 1 or 2 ways in their lives. They have gotten inspiration, they have gotten instruction 1 or 2 ways, and that keeps me going. Every time, by the way, sometimes I get discouraged and I'm like, I am not gonna do this anymore. And then a random stranger just says, hey, by the way, that podcast was for me. I needed to hear that today. And just that alone sends me back into the podcasting equipment and podcasting studio, which is makeshift. And I say, I gotta do this. Let me add another one. And I find myself 100 episodes later before another bout of discouragement comes. Anyway, today we are bringing this to a close. We are saying that with purpose pursuit, everyone is an inventor. We've said that one of the biggest enemies is status quo and survival. And the inventor is someone who basically does something of novel and something that can one way or another help. Something can add value, something can create an impact, something that can explain something. It's just something that produces help or solves a problem. That's an inventor. It's not a reserve of the guys who are geniuses. It's a byproduct of the guys who are pursuing something that they are passionate about. That's what inventions are all about. So we need to focus on producing new things. If purpose is available for everyone, it's good news, because everyone can be an inventor. Why? Because you cannot be steeped into your purpose and passionate about it and don't come up with anything new. Passion creates life. Hatred creates death. If you hate something, there will be death in that thing. If you hate your relationship, it's gonna die. If you hate your wife, that marriage is gonna die. If you hate your job, you will be fired. If you hate your startup, it will die. But if you are passionate about your wife, you're going to have kids. You're going to grow that relationship. You're going to mature. If you're passionate about your startup, you're going to start inventing stuff. Passion is the feeder of inventions. And these inventions are not things that you say, I'm sitting down, I'm planning to invent. No, they are a byproduct of passion. They come out, the offshoots of purpose, they come out of it. And I'm positing that there are many things that this world has never seen because people are not pursuing their purpose. They are not engaged in their passion. They are not passionate. You see, people go to work every day, but what fraction of those are passionate about what they're doing? How many of those love what they're doing? How many can do it for free? Instead of being steeped into our purpose pursuit, most people are looking for earnings, making a living and making ends meet. And one can say that there is nothing wrong with that. It's nothing wrong with putting food on the table. And like I said the other day, probably we need to balance. The enemy is survival. When you realize that as long as the mode of existence in life is to survive, you're not creating anything, nothing novel comes out. The inventor that is in you remains in slumberland. There is an inventor in every one of us, but remains in slumberland as long as the most novel thing that we're doing today is to get money so that we can survive. The inventor remains in slumberland. History keeps repeating itself, and you came on this earth so that you can do something novel, but what you keep doing is repeating what your grandfather did, what your father did. What did your grandfather do? He built houses so that he can be able to survive. And therefore, he created kids and he passed on the baton to them. If you look at your grandfather and ask, what novel did he come up with? Is there anything novel that he came up with? You find that there is nothing other than just making sure that you eke out a living. Kids don't sleep hungry and they go to school. Nothing novel. And you see, that's just something that happens to all of us. But if you find in your bloodline there was a unique guy, a revolutionary guy who was passionate about something, you easily find that that guy might have come up with something novel, might have invented something. Purpose pursuit has to have very many benefits in life. And as a rule of thumb, purpose pursuit will almost always result in the betterment of others. It's always for others. And that scale doesn't really matter. The scale of how you're going to matter to people doesn't really matter. You could impact one person. You could impact two people. You could impact a family, a community. You could impact an entire race or a nation. The reason as to why many people don't invent is they think that they have got to be an Edison or an Einstein, or there's got to be Alexander Fleming or an Isaac Newton, okay, or a Steve Jobs or a Bill Gates or a Jeff Bezos. The scale of impact doesn't really matter. The thing is that we've got to impact, period. The scale will take care of itself. And I think once you've done one, impacted one person, the scale can basically feed on momentum and take care of itself. Without purpose pursuit, though, it is next to impossible to do that which is novel, that can touch the life of someone else. Without purpose pursuit, it is impossible for you to become an inventor. It's impossible for you to do anything new. Realize though that you are not pursuing to invent. You are not saying, I am pursuing this purpose so that I can be able to invent. You are inventing because it's a byproduct of your purpose pursuit. And let me just say this to close. Even if you don't invent something, just pursue your purpose. There is no way you are turning out something of passion or of purpose each and working day and fail to invent. if you look at the invention in a different way. You cannot be said that you are stuck on something that you are not passionate about. When you are not passionate about something, you are a robot. I've been there before. You don't feel nothing. You don't feel inspiration. You're just fulfilling all righteousness, waiting for the end of the month so that you can stretch your hand and someone puts there some might on it. The only side of the brain being used is the left side, which is not responsible for creativity. It's not responsible for intuition. It's not responsible for context. Invention, as a close, is for everyone. If you are doing something that you have to do to eke out a living, you are in repetition mode. But if you are doing something that is of creative mode, it's something that is out of your purpose pursuit, you cannot become an inventor in such circumstances as when you're doing things that are not of creative mode, or doing something that is just a repetitive mode. But invention is not a reserve of a few people. It is the potential that lies within each and every one of us as human beings. As long as we are steeped into our area of passion, if we can learn to steep ourselves into our area of passion, our area of purpose pursuit, we wake up every day and something consumes us. I've got to do this. I've got to make this. I've got to finish. Actually, guys who love finishing things, I've got to make sure I finish this magazine today. I've got to make sure that I finish this project, this milestone for my startup today. I've got to make sure that I make these phone calls today. Those are the guys who are on the cutthroat of making inventions to come. So, what are we learning in this mini-series even as it comes to a close? Number one, that passion, purpose begets, or they beget inventions. Because inventions are novel and they are always geared towards helping people or making things better or solving a problem or adding value. But we've also realized, even as we come to a close of this, that the major reason why we don't invent is because we are not in our purpose pursuit. We are on survival mode. And survival mode can be to such an extent that you've even built a bungalow. You've built your house. You've bought your car, right? You've done everything that your carnal mind wanted. You have your hot wife and hot kids, right? But you've not invented a thing because you are on the survival mode. Survival doesn't have necessarily to be, you're trying to get a meal a day. It can be you're trying to keep up with the Joneses. It can be you're trying to do just things that are selfish. That's survival. But purpose pursuit always is going to touch the life of other people. Therefore, we come to a close of these episodes, this mini-series, and tomorrow we will start talking about something new. Until then, when we're talking about something new, I wish you all the success that you're willing to work for. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to Life Signatures Radio. If you enjoyed today's show, subscribe to Life Signatures Radio on iTunes, Stitcher, or visit our website at lifesignatures.libsyn.com. Life Signatures Radio, fresh, clean, and inspiring.